The Rescue Lake Simcoe Coalition is seeking a youth volunteer for its Youth Steward program to help further its environmental initiatives and engage new audiences. The Rescue Lake Simcoe Coalition is an umbrella group dedicated to protecting Lake Simcoe. Their goals include reducing the annual phosphorus loading, increasing environmental awareness and concern in the watershed, increasing public participation in activities that promote health of the watershed, and encouraging land use, planning decisions, and building techniques that will protect forest, wetlands, working farms, and Lake Simcoe. This volunteer will work with a board of directors to put forward new ideas and initiatives, continuing research on how to engage youth, and helping the organization tackle environmental issues. In talking to Barrie Community Media, Alessia Mole of the Rescue Lake Simcoe Coalition discussed the lack of youth presence at environmental rallies and is working to understand the missing link between youth and environmental activism. She is also researching the perspective of youth to better understand how to get more of them involved in environmental issues and is hoping the new volunteer will help to engage youth. Hi Alicia, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you. Thank you so much, Alessia, for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I would like to start with the program, like Simcoe's Youth Steward program. So you are looking for volunteers. So first, can you tell me what this program is about?
Yeah, so right now the posting is for one volunteer, but really Rescue Lake Simcoe, they run on volunteers, so we'd be open to whoever would want to put their hand up and get involved. But really so I'm just finishing up an internship with Rescue Lake Simcoe, and then I'm kind of staying on as a volunteer. And as part of my internship, Rescue Lake Simcoe was really trying to engage new audiences. And so part of that was like fishing communities around Lake Simcoe, activists, and then also youth. And um, myself as a youth between that definition of 16 to 30, I kind of got that started because I do have a background in youth engagement, but it kind of fell to the back burner with all of the Bill 23 stuff and cuts to the green belt. So now what we're looking for is someone to just join the organization and be a youth representative. So there is a board of directors on Rescue Lake Simcoe, so the youth would likely, be involved in those meetings and put their hands up for to put forward new ideas, new initiatives, and then also continuing the research that I started on like best practices to engage youth. And a big part of that is like making that engagement meaningful. And right now we haven't been focused on that. It's been more so like um, reaching out to youth groups and having them share our information and our events, encouraging them to come out to our rally for Bill 23 and cuts to the Greenbelt. And it's kind of been limited to that. And so now we want to push it further. We want to have someone who is a youth and who is passionate about, um, you know, the environment and climate change, not just specifically about Lake Simcoe, um, because Rescue Lake Simcoe does really focus on a lot of different environmental issues. It's really not just like solely place based. They really span to other organizations, other initiatives. And so someone who's passionate about those things and wants to get involved. And it is a grassroots organization. So that's like um, a really meaningful experience because Rescue Lake Simcoe actually really does a lot of work and like gets their hands dirty and is not afraid to like stand up and speak out to politicians and things like that. So a youth who wants that type of experience and is passionate about those things. Um, and yeah, I think that it's kind of the responsibilities right now. It's kind of open ended right now. It's like to engage youth in our initiatives. But we're really looking to take someone on who like has ideas and wants to contribute to tackling these environmental issues that we're trying to tackle. And so someone who's just like has that youth perspective and can help us move that forward and engage that audience.
So are you expecting this person to go out, for example, in high schools or in colleges? So how do you expect this person to, reach out to youth and, encourage the engagement?
So like in a variety of ways, I think what we've only done right now is through social media, and so making that engagement stronger. And then also, yeah, like you said, going out to high schools and going out to schools is definitely an option. Rescue Lake Simcoe does have an environmental program. It's called Education to Action, and they're working right now on getting that program into libraries and elementary schools and possibly high schools. So the youth steward would definitely be helping with that, and there is that option to go and facilitate that education program, and then also coming out to. It's more so during the summer that we go to like markets and community events and like have a table there, and so the youth steward would come to those and share our information and speak to people. And then again, like I said, this is kind of open ended where we would like someone who has those ideas, like what other ways can we engage with youth? So it would be with it might look like making partnerships with other youth councils or other youth groups around Southern Ontario. um, it might look like going to specific events or actually like holding or hosting specific youth centered events. Um, so, yeah, it is, we have ideas, but it's very open ended, and we'd like to give the youth steward kind of freedom to put forward what they think would be best.
So during, you talked about a little bit about Bill 23 protest. So did you see what kind of involvement was there from the youth? Was there not so much? Was that lacking from the youth? Because I covered a couple of events, and I didn't see that many youth. I see mostly older people, and which is they care. I get a sense, at least from the rallies, that they care more about the environment. That we will be, especially the youth, will be living for a much longer time.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and that's something that we've noticed. Um, there wasn't a huge youth presence at the rallies. I think that from our perspective, it was kind of limited to, like I said, sharing the rally on social media um, from different youth groups across Ontario. Um, and a few did show up. Like I myself was there, and I brought some people from school and in my own network. But other than that, it was definitely like an older group, and it's kind of frustrating to see that. As me myself, like a youth that is passionate about these things, myself and my boss Claire Malcolmson, we were just kind of talking like where are the youth? Why haven't they showed up? And um, it's a bit difficult, and it's like a bit sensitive because um, it's exhausting to show up to rallies and um, advocate about so many things that are going on in the world, and then this big bomb of Bill 23 and cuts to the Greenbelt have been dropped, and it's been really frustrating. I know myself, it's been pretty exhausting for me. And so now we're kind of thinking like, what is like the missing link? Like, what would have made more youth come out and made more youth speak up about these issues. And so that's kind of like research that we're trying to do. And another reason why we want to bring someone on, like what is their perspective? How can we get more youth involved to care about these really important issues?
Last month there was an event by Simcoe County Greenbelt Coalition, It was organized by Margaret Prophet, who is the executive director, and she kind of giving direction about what to do. Now the bill 23 has been passed, so what more people can do. And she talked about the how exhausting it can be. She said, if I show up 100% every day, that's not possible, because it takes a lot of energy. So she used to do for one day and then used to take breaks. So she said, instead of showing up 100% every day, it's okay if you show up 25%, but that it should be consistent. The effort should be consistent. So this is how you feel about those efforts were lacking during the protest.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think that there were so many protests happening that you can't go to all of them. Like I know my boss Claire, like she went to a lot, and um, I don't know how someone could do that because like it can be like physically and mentally draining. However, I know that I have spoken to like me myself. I've only very recently have gone to environmental protests like in the city of Toronto and like locally, and I was always very hesitant to go to protests just because I don't know fear and anxiety and random things. But um, when you're there, it's like, yes, we are protesting this really awful thing that's happening, but it feels really liberating and it feels really comforting in many ways. I remember because I had helped with promotion and getting people out there, and I just remember being there and I was I don't know setting something up, and then I turn around and it was like within minutes, there was like 150 people there. There was like, where did all these people come from? And then as you talk to people and you get to know people there, it was like the one that I went to was it was pouring rain. It was like such a miserable day, but people were like in costumes and had all these creative signs and were really passionate about the issue. And it was like a sigh of relief that it's like, oh, we our message is getting out there and there are people that are listening and that care. And I felt the same way when I went to a rally for Fridays for Future downtown, where it was like such a huge crowd, and it was like so reassuring to see how many people care. So even though they can be physically and emotionally exhausting in many ways, to like get yourself there and be thinking about all these issues and trying to understand like what action looks like, it's like this collection of people who are like-minded and care about the issues that you care about. It's really fun. Like, and that's what we try to do with like having prizes and encouraging creative signs. Like, let's rally as opposed to like protest. Like, let's gather and show um, our anger towards the issue, but not in an aggressive way and not in a way that is like celebrating community in some way. Um, so yeah, that's why we want to be able to communicate the mess like what I just said of like this is how we might get people out there, that it really is not it really shouldn't be an exhausting protest. It should be something that people are excited to do. And so I don't really know how we're going to do that yet. Um, but hopefully the youth steward can help us figure that out.
Yeah, so I get a sense from what you said is, so even if you have to express anger at the protest, you don't necessarily have to be angry yourself and miserable. You can
Right.
have fun at the same time. You can show that anger, and you want uh, the youth steward to have fun as well while they are volunteering and while they're working on this initiative. And so
Yeah, exactly.
you talked about a little bit about you going to the protest, but how did it start for you, the interest in the environment cause?
Yeah, well, I'm currently a master's student at York University studying environmental studies, and I also like did my undergrad in environmental sustainability, and then I worked for 2 years. I've worked with like a energy consulting company, and then I also worked for Nature Conservancy of Canada. And then I was also a on the youth council for the Toronto Region Conservation Authority. So basically, like my background has always been in like conservation and the environment. And to explain how like I started it is like um, I don't even know. I was very like very confused throughout high school and even in early days in university of like what I wanted to do. But then I was kind of exposed to like how many jobs there are in environmental studies and all the opportunities and different pathways you can take. And it got me really excited to know that I can like make a career out of something that actually makes a difference and is something that I really care about. And so then it kind of just like has snowballed from there. I really love like working with like local communities and like making a network of people who care about environmental issues. My interests are very broad. Um, and so yeah, like I'm in my second year, and my focus for my master's has been um, in outreach and communication. It's been heavily on that. And then it's also been in like um, traditional ecological knowledge. I've been exploring that as well. And so that goes into kind of like engaging local communities and um, local knowledge of the environment. And so then I did this internship with Rescue Lake Simcoe, and it was a good opportunity. I was titled like the communications intern, and so, you know, kind of exploring like local perspectives is really important to me in, you know, managing that like uh, that sustainable view of like, you know, how can we live more harmoniously with nature without destroying it? And it's like such a challenge. Um, But yeah, I think like nature connections are really important. And I think that that's what motivates me, like to continue pursuing this career and learning new things. I think it's really important to spend time in nature and value it and protect it. Um, and so that's kind of what I've been trying to like embody through all of my work and my research and yeah.
No, a couple of things, jumped up from what you said. One was you said, you don't know where it started, right? And when I have a 5-year-old son, and then he reads books and watches videos, and then he tells me that, oh, the humans are the biggest predators of shark and other animals. So I can see at least from him that any young child growing up, they have this empathy towards the environment. They don't see exclusively as, even we shows empathy towards their toys, but with the trees and with the animals, and I agree that that needs to be nurtured more, if we want to live with the environment. And then recently I was checking some news coming out of India, and India recently launched a campaign called life, lifestyle for environment. That's the campaign, that you how do you incorporate this kind of environmental friendly living. And then I was also searching a little bit about how far we go into these environmental initiatives. And then I came across uh, a quote by Mahatma Gandhi way back in 1920s, and he said, as Indians were pushing up for the independence, and he said, if we adopt this Western lifestyle, this consumer oriented lifestyle, then you know this earth will have no resources in few years. So if a few people exploiting, that's already bad, and if everybody start doing that, that will really exhaust all the natural resources. And 100 years later we see how how is that going for us. And another thing that you talked about, you worked for the energy consultancy firm. And when a lot of people hear about somebody's doing the environmental science, or doing those masters or undergrad program, people think advocacy is the only option. That's great, but there are so many other avenues that we are trying to explore, non fossil fuel to empower our lifestyle. So do you have anything to say about those kind of options, if people want to focus their career on?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't start in advocacy. I think Rescue Lake Simcoe really got me started with advocacy, but with that energy consulting company, and working with the Nature Conservancy of Canada, they were both very like administrative based roles. So with the Nature Conservancy of Canada, I was administering the Natural Heritage Conservation Program, which is um, like funding from the federal government to conserve um, hectares of important ecosystems across Canada. Um, and so working with an organization like that, and then also being involved with like conservation authorities and like TRCA, um, it's it is very different, and it is very like I said, it very much more administrative, and um, it's a lot more like a salary based desk job. And though there is many fulfilling things about working those jobs, like working with people who are still like minded and very passionate about the environment, and I did feel like I was making still making change in the environment. Um, Advocacy and working with grassroots organizations like Rescue Lake Simcoe can be a bit more fulfilling, though a bit more exhausting because you have to go into, whether funding is available and relying on volunteers and dealing with a lot of people who disagree with our mission. That can be a bit tiring, but also very fulfilling when you're working more closely with communities and local people, and you're having more one-on-one conversations, and there's less like hoops to jump through than what you're doing when you're working with a big organization or a conservation authority. And so I think like right now, having finished my internship with Rescue Lake Simcoe and then staying on as a volunteer, I'm at like a bit of a it's kind of sounds kind of cheesy, but like I'm at a bit of a crossroads between like, you know, advocacy. It feels like you're doing so much more work on the ground and making more change, but there are a lot of things about it that are sometimes not very sustainable for like your mental well-being. Um, but I think what I'm trying to achieve now, and what I think a lot of people in this field should also try to do, is like finding that sustainability between um, having a role where you feel fulfilled and feel that you're really making change and making a difference, whether it be like literally in like your backyard, like outside of your home, in your subdivision or wherever you're living, or whether it's the bigger issue of climate change. Um, but then, finding a balance of like what's like sustainable for your life, and it looks very different for everybody. And yeah, I just think like working with a grassroots organization for the first time was very eye-opening, into like all the possibilities and all of the difference that Rescue Lake Simcoe has made, and like who they talk to and the meetings that they show up to was like really eye-opening. Claire Malcolmson herself, I'm not sure if you like know her personally, but like she is just like a powerhouse, and she just like does not stop, and just like is like always very confident in speaking to who she needs to speak to, and recruiting people to join Rescue Lake Simcoe. And she's made a lot of change herself, and I think that that's very inspiring. Um, and so, yeah, I don't know if that really answers the question because I think basically what I'm trying to say is it's all like a work in progress, and it depends on what, kind of lights that fire inside you when you're working. Um, and also feeling like you're making a difference and making the change you want to see for the environment.
I did an interview clear a few months back, and so I understand what when you say she's a powerhouse. And but in terms of navigating, now the bill 23 has been passed, so how you personally navigating that fact, and what do you think is uh, ahead for the advocacy as you as an individual as well as for your organization?
Yeah, it's a hard question to answer because Bill 23 was like really shocking and really like made me very angry. I think that everybody in the environmental field has experienced what's called like eco anxiety from time to time of feeling like, like everything is wrong and feeling kind of hopeless. And I've definitely felt that in the past, but I think as soon as I read about Bill 23, that was really like, what the heck is going on? Like, why this is like such a step backwards. And it just hits so close to home because the green belt is like, you know, right in my backyard. So it's it's been frustrating. And with the passing of Bill 23, a part of me feels like not convinced. A part of me feels like it's really not over. And that's how organizations like Rescue Lake Simcoe and the Simcoe County Greenbelt Coalition like are still trying to move forward and still like advocating for people to continue to sign petitions, continue to show up to rallies, continue to speak up to their MPs and MPPs to, you know, speak out about the issue. And so that's what we're still trying to do. Um, and though with the holidays and things and the new year, it's probably slowed down a little bit, but I think the momentum is still there and people are still gonna like keep fighting for like things, especially for the green belt cuts. Like it just maybe I am biased based on um, my network of people and who I have on social media and who I interact with, but it really feels like there is nobody who wants this. There's nobody who wants these changes and nobody who wants development in the green belt. So it feels like why is this happening? And maybe there is still hope for our voices to be heard by the province. And so again, like I keep this reoccurring theme of like being like discouraged from these things that are being passed and but I think it's really important for people to keep following organizations that are doing the hard work and support them in any way that they can, whether it's as simple as like signing a petition or sharing a social media post. I think it all makes a difference. And maybe those few people um, who are still not on board with the like fight against Bill 23 and cuts to the greenbelt, getting those people on board and making our voice really loud. So I think that there is still hope that things might um, be repealed, but um, we're going to just have to find out and do everything we can to keep fighting. And I don't know what the next couple months are going to look like, but um, I'm happy that I'm not this might sound a little cheesy, but I'm happy that I'm not alone. I'm happy that I'm volunteering and a part of an organization like Rescue Lake Simcoe, who is like doing, like getting their hands dirty and like really mobilizing people to make change so that I don't feel like I'm just trying to do this on my own and just like angry about it by myself, that I'm actually like channeling my my anger and my interest into something productive. So that's like a good reassuring feeling. So I just encourage anybody to try to get involved in organizations that they see are doing things because it can it can really help.
Yeah, you talked about, people share, should share this on social media, which is, which is great to spread the awareness. But you also talked about, you personally going to the rallies, because I remember in 2019, I think it was maybe 2000, I think it was 2019. There was a big rally in Toronto. At that time, I was doing my masters at now Toronto Metropolitan University, and there were hundreds and hundreds of people showed up. And then what we see to happen during the pandemic was, and that kind of accelerated due to social media, is people doing a lot of advocacy only on social media, people sharing and posting. And I do you think that's what happened? Because I did not see, because this was when I talk to environmental activists, and even people who care about this Bill 23 issue, that there wasn't as much pressure, at least not even from the international level that we have seen in the past. So wasn't so much solidarity with the cause. People did not show up physically in large number, as we have seen in the past rallies. And at that time, there wasn't as pressing issue as Bill 23 was.
Um, I was gonna say, like, it gets really confusing, and I think I definitely agree that there's like a lot of movements where people are really loud about it on social media, but don't realize that like that's not the only way to show up. Um, and yeah, I think it does say something about like creating, like you said, like that solidarity with a movement. And I think it is important in its own way. But like I agree that like how important it is to do more than just share on social media. And so um Claire and I have definitely talked about that. And the only thing we've really, again, it's like such a complicated thing that I don't really have an answer for, but I think what we kind of just decided or kind of planned for was making sure that our posts are very um are simple and have action items. So fortunately, a lot of the action items were can be done virtually, like signing a petition, writing an email to your MPP, um, or there was also a lot of or maybe a couple virtual rallies, which is like convenient for people who might still be uncomfortable with the COVID situation or time commitments, distance, all that stuff. So just making sure that like you're not just sharing something that says like stop Bill 23 or like hands off the green belt. It's like, okay, stop Bill 23 and sign this petition that will be sent to this minister, or stop Bill 23 by writing to your MPP and just simply click this link and this is all the information you need and it's going to take you 2 minutes. So that's what we've kind of leaned on, of like trying to make our posts simple and action based as opposed to just but then we've also had a mix of posts that are, like, just informative and showing facts of, like, this is what is at jeopardy with this bill and with cuts to the green belt. So, I just think, like, that's the only answer I have right now to, like, how to mobilize people to just get off simply posting a post versus, like, taking action, because the action in this case was kind of simple and it's just clicking a link, fortunately. So you didn't have to show up to to a rally, even though it is very important. You can still make a change without getting off your chair. So I think that was convenient for a lot of people, and the petitions did get uh, a lot of signatures and a lot of reshares on social media, so, like, whatever that means, but it's like, it still says something that people are probably signing the petition and sharing it, so that's all we can really that's all we can really measure right now.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's right. So that's all I have. But any final message regarding the program to the applicant, or anything about the movement going forward?
I just think I would reiterate, like, based on, we have um, a few volunteer positions open with with Rescue Lake Simcoe, and so like I would just reiterate like how important it is to join organizations and be a part of things. Even though volunteering does take time away from potentially like your work or, just committing more time than you have, I think it is really important to channel that kind of like eco anxiety or that stress that we have about all of these issues happening into something that can be productive. So, like as a youth steward, you'll be able to channel, you know, the worries that you have about the environment and climate change and Bill 23 into an organization that's really making real change. And so that's all I'll say is just that it's really important to get involved with organizations doing the hard work.
That sounds great. Yeah, thank you so much again for joining me.
Yeah, thanks. I enjoyed chatting.
Me too. Yeah, bye.